Before we start, just a quick disclaimer that there will be some explicit conversations going on up here. We don't really know where it's going to go. It's a very open space we have, so feel free to leave at any point, but just a warning. Also, for everybody who's on Twitter, our hashtag is hashtag 2G5G, but please tweet at PrideWestern. So, with the UWO in there. Hashtag 2G5GUWO. My mistake. But make sure that you're including at PrideWestern in that. Within our audience, we have the lovely Ken, who will be facilitating. So if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and throw your hand up, or tweet, or flag him down at all. And yes, so without further ado, my name is Zoe, and I'll be hosting up on stage. And then we have our lovely panel. So would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sorry, I didn't wait for the microphone to warm up. My name is Barb Armstrong. I am the proud mother of Stephanie Armstrong, your Pride coordinator, who graciously invited me to attend and allowed me to talk about her, and I did warn her ahead of time, so it's her own fault. I am also the proud aunt of a gay individual as well, so I have some experience that way, and I don't think we have to tell anything else about ourselves, so.
Guys, turn your microphones before it gets to you.
Yeah. All right, hey everybody, I'm Jeff. I'm from Windsor, and my brother Jimmy's gay, and he's cool with me being here today, so, yeah.
Hi, I'm Carissa, I'm from Midhurst, and my sister is gay, also cool with me being here.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I'm here from Arizona, and I have a gay dad, and 3 gay aunts, actually.
My name's Jess, and I'm a student at Western, and I'm here to chat about my sister, who is pansexual / queer, depending on the day. And she's also cool with me being here.
Yeah. Cool, thank you guys. So first question, just to get things started, was how did your queer loved one come out to you? Anybody can answer.
Okay, I remember mine because I come from a very Catholic family. So my sister, I believe she was in 2nd year university at the time, came out to us over dinner during Christmas holiday. We were eating chicken soup. I remember that because my mom actually dropped her spoon in her soup when my sister came out to the family. So I was okay with it. I was a little upset that she told my sister a year before and didn't tell me, but other than that, my father also okay with it. My mom still struggles a bit, but she loves her daughter and she's trying her best.
Well, Stephanie had been talking with some of her friends about a camp that she was interested in. And one day she comes over to me and puts her laptop on the table and turns it with the website of the camp on it, and Camp 10 Trees in Seattle, which is a camp for queer gay youth, and says, here, can I go to this? Not that it was any surprise. By that point I was well aware that she was gay, but that was her coming out to me.
My brother and I were chilling in the basement playing video games because he, like me, is kind of a nerd. And he just turned to me and said, oh yeah, I'm gay. And I said, cool. And we kept like racing or whatever we were doing. And the only thing I was surprised, unlike most people I knew, including Steph, who's known both of us since elementary school, who told me, yeah, Jeff, it was obvious. The only thing that kind of riled me a little was because I was like the last one that he told. I was a little sad about that, but he did tell me, which I really respect and appreciate, so.
Well, my parents had just recently separated. We had no idea why, and my dad looked at me and said, hey, do you want to go shopping? I said, why not? So we're driving down the highway, and he turned to me and said, I have something to tell you. I'm like, what, Dad? He goes, Maddie, I'm bisexual. I'm like, oh, okay. Are we still going shopping? And then I got some really cool clothes, and about a week later, he came back to me and said, I'm not bi, I'm fully gay, I just wasn't comfortable yet. And I'm like, Dad, I love you anyway. And my whole family's really cool with it.
My sister realized that she was pan when she went to an arts camp in the summer that I work at, and she had a crush on a female friend of hers before she went to camp, and then went to camp and had like a camp relationship, so it lasted the 2 weeks that she was at camp. With a guy that she met there, and then at the end of the summer, when both of us were home, I was back from work, and we were both back in Oakville, where my parents played, like my parents' house is, where we grew up. She just we sat down one night, and I was just kind of like, okay, like I know I was a counselor, so we didn't have time to talk about what went on at camp, but you know, what happened? How was your summer? And she kind of told me through that. I think it was helpful because I had spoken to her before about being queer and about things like that before, so she kind of just chatted. It was just a very, like, it wasn't necessarily like a traditional coming out story, it was just sort of like, yeah, I just kind of realized this, and the, like, pansexual or queer made the most sense to her, because she was like, it's not something that, she sort of, like, it was a hard-hitting moment, it was just, I just had a crush on this friend of mine, and she happened to be a girl, and that was kind of how that happened. And currently, we haven't like talked to our parents about it at all, so.
What was your biggest fear when your loved one came out to you? Like something that came to your mind, or like you've been wondering?
I don't know that I had one big fear. I guess I had a couple of fears. I work for Children's Aid Society as a child protection worker. So I'm well aware of the risk factors that gay queer youth face. So I kind of had some immediate fears about her safety. If she was coming out to me, going out in public, we had a couple of publicized physical attacks and assaults in Windsor to gay individuals. So I was concerned about her hanging around the bars and with her friends and that type of thing when she got older. I was concerned about the rejection that she might face from some family members, but not my side. My side had already had a very clear experience with my niece being out. But her father's side of the family is much more religious, and so I worried about the emotional impact the rejection might have on her. In a longer term kind of picture, I guess my fear is more about what it means for her in the future in terms of discrimination, in terms of getting jobs, smaller dating pool, and a pool that is often, unfortunately, in my experience, mixed with some individuals that have some emotional issues because of the experiences they've had, and what that means for her in terms of developing a partnership and a family of her own moving forward in the future. And the things that, like most parents, we want our children to be happy and safe. And I think that those are still my biggest fears for her going forward.
I personally didn't have any fear, but her coming out did cause my parents a lot of fear, which caused me a lot of personal anger. After she came out and after my parents weren't that accepting of her, I stopped talking to them for about 6 months. And now my sister's 24, and she's also recently engaged, which I'm very excited about. And we received an email from our father saying, I'm happy for you, but be careful to show your love only where it's appropriate. Or be careful where you show your love. And I get that maybe he's, worried about everything that Barbara said, but just the way it was phrased, it made me very angry. But on the plus side, hopefully they're coming around, and we're working on getting them to her wedding, hopefully, next year, so.
I think with my sister's 17, so I worried a lot because she's, as she calls it, she's made her own little mini queer community, even in Oakville, which is like a suburb and very like upper class. But she's made friends with other other people that she's met who are gay or bisexual and things like that. And so I didn't have a fear really when she came out to me, but when she told me about her first experience of like having an issue with her group of friends, where one of her friends who was gay accused her of the typical things that pansexual people are often accused of, that she was just confused, or that was her being greedy, and things of that nature. And that, when she told me about that experience, that was when I had the first fear, because I know how amazing it is to be able to find that community, but I think pansexual and bisexual people sometimes experience that erasure where they have trouble fitting in one or the other, because we still sort of see things very like binary. So I think that was the first fear I guess I had of my sister coming out to me.
I really wasn't scared for my dad because he's just awesome and doesn't really care who knows, and him and his husband are really, really happy, and they don't really care when they're in public or when they're in private. They don't really change their actions. So I really commend him for that, and just it's awesome that he can be himself. But I was scared when he first came out a little. I was in middle school, and a lot of my friends that were guys bullied me for it and treated me differently. And that really sucked. A lot of people told me, oh, you were a mistake. Your dad's gay. Like, you shouldn't, he didn't really love your mom. Like, you're just here. And that bugged me. But then my dad told me that it wasn't, and that he would not have changed anything, and that he loves me and my sisters so much. And if he did it again, he'd do it the exact same way. I was scared a little for one of my sisters. She actually didn't come to his wedding, but she's come around since then. And other than that, I just, he's embraced it. He's really cool about it. He actually lives in New York right now with his husband, a little apartment in Chelsea, and right above a sex toy shop, and it's really cool.
When my brother initially came out to me, I wasn't too afraid for him. He's a lot like my dad, who's sort of this strong, big, old Italian guy. He's like, I guess, like the patriarch of the family, right? So, I mean, my brother echoes him very much, and like physically and sort of emotionally. But on my mom's side of the family, my grandfather struggled with mental health issues that sort of trickled down through the family. He's been on lithium, he's been on all sorts of drugs throughout his entire life. It's been something he's been struggling with for a very long time, and I was sort of worried about how serious anxiety might impact my brother when he has to deal with coming out, people judging him, whether or not he might have to change his circle of friends, which he did have to do. Some of his friends weren't as accepting as they should have been. Other than that, I guess just the issues of being a gay man in a small town where maybe there are 2 or 3 other people who are out that are your age and are not as desirable as they might be. I know my brother is not attracted to anyone in his age bracket who's gay. He has very high standards. Stuff like that, I guess. I don't know. That's not as serious though as I think just the mental health issues that might arise from all the changes he's having to go through right now.
So before I ask you guys another question, I think Ken has a Twitter question?
Yes, we have a question from the Twitterverse. Have you ever had a friend who reacted negatively to your family member being of the sexually and gender diverse community?
Are we allowed to swear?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, one of my friends made a homophobic joke to me when he found out my brother came out, and I've never been like a really angry person. I've never gotten in a fight before in my life, but I put on my angry face and I told him to fuck right off. And after that, he's been pretty accepting, and he knows that jokes aren't cool. Besides that, though, everything's been pretty good. I think the biggest deal is just to make sure that people know it's not cool to not be accepting of your family member or whoever's. Yeah.
I was in Saugeen last year, and I had a couple guys on my floor who were really, really homophobic, and they found out my dad was gay and our friendship ended. Like, completely ended, treated me differently, didn't want to be friends with me, and it sucked. But I don't really need those people in my life that are going to judge people like that and aren't accepting of everybody. They don't know my dad, they don't know who he is, what kind of person he is. You can't judge somebody without even knowing them, and you can't judge me on who my dad is. And I actually think I'm a happier person without having those negative influences in my life.
I've been pretty lucky. None of my friends have had a problem with anything. One of my friends got mad at me for not telling her right away, actually. But like I did reference my mom before, and my family recently found out that my sister was gay through my cousin. And when it got back to my mom, I found out that she called up my sister and basically started a fight over it, saying, you must have told her, you must have said something, you must have been posting gay pictures online. And that hurts. Because she's my mom, and that's my sister.
I didn't really have too much negative reaction. My bestie, as we like to call her, identifies as bisexual as well. I am on the Sexual and Gender Diversity Committee at my office, and long before Stephanie came out, had been taking her to Pride events at Windsor for many years. Kept encouraging the idea that maybe she would come out if she saw that I was, gay friendly. It just took her a while to catch on. Such a slow learner that she is. I didn't put burn in there somewhere. But no, my friends were very accepting. I think that, to be my friends, I wouldn't expect anything less of them. I think that there were, and my family certainly, I don't think had any issue. If they did, they weren't saying anything. Her father's side of the family, her father and I were separated before she came out. I think that there are more challenges on that side. But again, in terms of friends, it's not an issue with my friends.
Yeah, just to echo Carissa in terms of friends, also been very lucky, haven't had any issues with like my friends. Like I said before, my sister has had issues with her friends, and also has always done you do like the safety test of like figuring out if you can talk sort of maturely with a friend about what being pansexual means and like what it means to her and things like that. So she does that monitoring process, but kind of the opposite actually, especially with being involved in the center. It's sort of been something that comes up where someone who's in the center talking about being pansexual or talking about the pansexual flag. I remember once and I was like, oh, my sister's pansexual as well. And it was like, oh my gosh, really? And then it was, yeah, a really positive thing actually. So as far as friends go, I've been very lucky.
For referencing center, referring to peer support center downstairs, just to clarify.
That's great.
Yeah.
UCC 38, go visit. There's lots of nice people there.
Where people should take the trip downstairs. We touched on it a bit in other answers, but I just want to ask more directly, how you felt it's changed the dynamics within your immediate family, or if it's an aunt, within out to that structure.
Well, one strange thing that I haven't touched on yet is my sister, she's planning on getting married in Hawaii in a few years. And my parents have been saying, oh, that's really expensive, why don't you just go to City Hall, blah, blah, blah. And then my dad and mom went on a vacation, because all the kids are out of the house finally. And they come back and they're like, oh, if you do your wedding in Aruba, we'll definitely come. So that was a little strange for me. It's like you won't go for her wedding, but you'll go for a vacation to Aruba, which is where their honeymoon was, I guess. As for my aunts and everyone else, they've been very accepting. No one's really had a problem with it. My cousin does use the word gay a lot in his sentence, and before he knew that my sister was in the LGBT community, we did have a discussion about it, and he didn't see why it wasn't okay with me that he was just using a word, just throwing it around. But yeah, other than that, everything's been good. My family's been really accepting, and they still love her. My extended family, everyone.
For me, I don't look at my dad any differently. I don't love him any less than before. I actually maybe love him a little bit more because he's finally being himself. Him and my mom don't talk, but I think that's more the divorce side, and I think it was really hard for her, especially to find out that the man she loved for years and had 3 kids with didn't really love her anymore and actually loved guys. So that is something that she's dealing with on her own, and I don't think that it's wrong that she's still not okay with it. I think that she needs to come to terms with it in her own time. My other 2 sisters are the same as me. Like, they're awesome about it. Took one of them a little longer to come around. And my dad's dad is very supportive of him. His mom is very supportive too. That's like as of recently, she didn't come to his wedding either. So I think that took a toll on him, that his own daughter and his mom didn't really come to support him. But other than that, the entire family is just really cool. But I do have a lot of gay people in my family, so I think we're used to it by now.
It didn't really change the family dynamic that much. I mean, he's still my brother Jimmy, right? I still play video games and horse around with him and, you know, punch him in the arm if he does something dumb. But like, it has changed the way my family thinks about issues of sexuality and sort of, I understand this is a separate issue, but gender identity as well. It wasn't ever something that was discussed openly in my family before this. I don't think out of a lack of acceptance, but just because it wasn't something to think about, it was sort of assumed that if you're a guy, you like girls, and if you're a girl, you like guys, and that's just how everybody is. Everyone's happy with, you know, the way their body is and everything like that. But now it's really openly discussed and it's a much higher level of understanding, which I really appreciate. My mom sort of made the effort to reach out to the Windsor LGBT community, which has been just like awesome, and it's really shown my brother that he's got a lot of support. Also, my brother's out, but he hasn't really went and, you know, told a bunch of people officially in my family. I think a number of the aunts have sort of surmised, because recently they've all taken him under their wing and tried to get him to go thrift shopping with them and all this stuff. And it's just him. It's not me or my other brother, so I think they kind of caught on.
As far as the family dynamic, I think it's been great for me and my sister's relationship. So my sister's 17. We also have an even younger sister who's 11. She's really funny. So me and my sister Mandy, and then the youngest one's Melissa. Mandy and I are each other's support network. We reach out to each other constantly, and it's really, really powerful. And we're able to have conversations about things that frustrate us, like with each other, and that's awesome. And then we also do our best to like impart like things like that upon like Mel. So we talk to Mel a lot about things like she talked to us once about this. She wanted a coat that was in like a store, but that she clearly could discern at this point, right, that there was like girl colors and boy colors for the coat. And initially she wanted the boy colored coat. But was afraid that like a boy at her school would have the same coat, and then people would know that it was a boy coat and that she was wearing the wrong coat. And so like she talks to us and tells us stories like that, and we have sort of been trying to teach her about the gender and sexually diverse community, and that it's very like it's just to talk to her about that and be very open about that. And with our parents, it's sort of just been like kind of where we introduce conversations, or we'll challenge them on certain things if things come up. And my sister has had lots of hypothetical conversations with them, like, you know, and so I think if it ever came up, I think they would be fine. I think they would deal with it, but it's just something that we've sort of decided amongst ourselves that like it's just not something we're gonna bring up to them officially until if one of us ever has like a female partner or something like that. So yeah, it's made my family dynamic, I think, a lot better, a lot more open, and like really sort of a comradeship between us, which is great.
I actually agree. My family is so much more open now. I don't know what it is, but ever since my dad came out, like, my sisters go to him for lots of questions, and they go to me for lots of questions, and we never used to talk about our relationships and our boyfriends and kind of what we did, and now my sisters are okay with asking my dad things, and my dad asks us stuff about our lives, stuff that I probably wouldn't have told him, except for the fact that our relationship is just so open. I can tell them anything. If they call me at like 11 at night, I don't lie to my parents and say, oh yeah, I'm studying. I'm like, yeah, I'm at the bar, I'm pounding back some shots right now. Like, for some reason, it's kind of made our relationship so much better that I can talk to them about anything because I know that he is now completely honest with me.
I think we have another audience question, Kat?
Actually, another question from Twitter. So, on a lighter note, do you ever wish you were queer?
That's a very odd question. I often do get asked if I am. I don't wear makeup. I, pretty much don't wear jewelry. I wear a lot of what could be described as more butch kind of clothing. I would prefer to have my hair cut extremely short. For some reason, Stephanie doesn't want me to have the same haircut as her. And, my other daughter, who is a diva princess in pink and glitter and everything, doesn't want me to have short hair either. So, and I've been working Pride events for years. As I said, my best friend identifies as bisexual, and so we go out a lot dancing and to other activities, and we've gone to drag shows and gay bars and different things together. So I often get asked if I am, but no, I'm just a bad dresser and pretty much just, like to live the way I like, and I don't like to, put on anything for anybody else, and no, I'm definitely heterosexual, that wasn't the reason for my divorce, so I get asked it, but no, I'm not really wishing to be gay.
I think that if anyone has ever had a fight with their boyfriend or girlfriend or partner, and sometimes I know I get frustrated and I just wish sometimes, I'm like, wow, if you were a girl, you would understand exactly what I mean right now. Like, you're just a boy and you're dumb and you don't get it. Like, you just don't understand. So in those moments, sometimes it'd be nice, but then I remember how much I like guys and what they have to offer, and I think I'm gonna stay on that team. I've definitely kissed a girl and realized, you know what, I'm totally for guys. But yes, sometimes there are those moments where I wish that I could be with a girl and they would know exactly what I need and how I need to be appreciated, and that's about it.
I also like what guys have to offer. Funny, a few weeks ago, someone did say to me, they're like, if you were a lesbian, you would be a lipstick. Still don't know what that means. Like,
lipstick lesbians are like the very, very pretty lesbians who like dress like super fancy and like wear heels and like really good eyewear.
Femme-identified, yeah.
Yes. They're called lipstick lesbians.
oh, thank you then. But yes, when my sister did come out, I thought about it, but then I realized that in the nicest way to say it, I don't like women parts. Sorry if that came out rude, but it's just not for me.
I think what you're saying is that you appreciate the penis, but you put it on a man and it makes them dumb.
To all the boys in our audience, you're not all that dumb.
Heterosexual men.
And Jeff.
I think queer is kind of a strange word, so I don't necessarily know what the question means, like, because do you think they're asking, like, do they wish, like, if you wish you were on the binary? Yeah, I just, because I mean, like, the way that queer and the word queer is used in certain communities doesn't necessarily, like, dictate sexual orientation, and that's, like, the only thing. So that's why I'm a little confused about it, I guess. I think the question is meant to say...
If you're on a continuum, you know, maybe something.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Do you wish you were full out lesbian?
I don't, it's such a weird question. I don't think I don't know if it's something that I would wish, like, it's just, I don't know. I am just attracted to people when I'm attracted to them, and I go with it. I don't really worry about if my life would be better if, like, just, it was, yeah, very, like, only attracted to one kind of person. Everyone's different, and everyone is the way they are, and it's just like, I don't know, it's such a weird question. Is that wrong to say? To question the questioner? I would question as to what they mean by that question. Yeah,
I agree
that's
with
my
you.
answer.
Like, it's totally like a feeling. Like, I've also kissed a girl, and there's nothing there. Like, it's different. It's just a feeling. Like, for me at least.
No. If we're talking about the binary, right? I just seen some of the issues that my brother has to face, and, you know, even like the things that aren't that tough but just kind of suck, like the fact that your dating pool is so much smaller. You're constantly around people who you can't, like, maybe you can't relate to on some level. Like, a lot of his friends are girls who like guys, he likes guys, but they're not guys, right? They don't have a penis. Like, they don't understand what it's like. So, not on that level, no.
Okay. Have you ever identified any advantages to having a queer family member?
Oh God, yes. Only I'm the single mother of 2 daughters. The older one who is, don't tweet her after this, please. You know, the pink diva princess drama, you know, was boy crazy from the time that she was, you know, 9, 10, maybe 2. You know, constantly worried about, is she going to get pregnant? Is she going to do this? Am I going to get a loser boy coming and moving into the house with us? So, you know, although Stephanie has a completely different personality, there were some things that were a little bit of a relief on that end. I'm not worried about her coming home pregnant anytime soon. You know, it just, there would seem to be, and as much as I know all about the, you know, the lesbian moving vans and all of the drama that comes with that sometimes, there does seem to be less drama, at least in her life. Maybe it's her personality. So no, I appreciate that advantage in terms of my daughter, that there's a little less of that girl drama.
I get a lot of advantages from my dad being gay. For one, he loves to take me shopping, loves it. And he lives in New York City, so it's like the best thing ever. When I go and visit, I get to go everywhere. He's one of those dads who like won't just like wait in front of the door and kind of just like walk back and forth, pretend like he's not excited. He'll come in and like pick things out with me and tell me what looks good, or he'll go and find me shoes that like match what my dress that I'm getting. So that's definitely awesome to have a really cool like shopping buddy who also pays for everything. And the other thing that is a huge advantage in my life is the fact that he has morphed into more of a best friend than a dad. I don't know exactly how that happened, but before he came out, I was always scared to go to him about my guy stuff and about like my troubles, I guess, growing up and going through puberty and everything. And ever since he came out, I've been able to tell him everything. When I got a serious boyfriend and I knew things were going places, I wasn't scared to go to him. I actually went to him and said, hey, like, let's do the sex talk. You know, you can tell me stuff that mom can't about guys and about stuff, and I can ask him anything. His partner, Francesco, is actually way more like into that area. He loves to give me all of his stuff. He's actually told me many things to try, which I don't think I will. But they're great. It's kind of like having just like these two awesome best friends who you can talk to about anything.
I wouldn't say any like full-out advantages or disadvantages, but one weird thing, like what she was saying earlier, is that me and my sister have a very much more closer relationship, and just because we can be honest with each other. I'd say a disadvantage is that she started talking to me about how she bought gay porn off the internet and started telling me all about that in detail, in which I cut her off Skype. I'm not sure if this is an advantage or disadvantage, but ever since my sister came out and my parents, the typical parents are like, oh, you better not bring a boy over, or we're gonna grill him, we're gonna kick him out of the house, we're gonna embarrass you, blah. Changed into, got a boyfriend? Can we meet him? You're gonna have a boyfriend? You should have a boy over. But at the same time, now both of my sisters, Trisha, who usually would never talk to me about that, now is like, you need to have a boyfriend before you leave university, Carissa. And I'm like, stop. It's just not what I need.
No advantages or disadvantages, right, from him being gay, that's just a part of him, and, whatever. But after he came out, he became, the coolest kid I've ever met in my life. I think just because, he'd finally embraced this part of himself that he was never able to before. Now, as opposed to before he came out, he dresses really cool, and, hey, I love shopping too, but I'm not good at picking stuff out, and Jimmy is. He's awesome. He also has this, I don't give a shit attitude now, which is really cool to see, especially in a 16-year-old kid who's in high school, and, he's right in the midst of all these cliques and all these expectations about who he should be and what he should do, and, some of that, I guess, is kind of, hopefully, transferred into me. I don't know, it's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, definitely same thing along the lines of just having more open communication with a family member, and a much closer relationship is I think a direct advantage of them knowing you're a safe person to talk to, them knowing that they can go to you and just talk about something that we wouldn't bring it up at the dinner table, if that makes sense. So that's I guess a clear advantage. And I think it's one of those things where when you're more reflective and you're thinking about it a lot, and you have to think about it more because the world around you makes you think about it more, it helps in terms of relationships, or in terms of working through things in your life. My sister's in high school too, so it's the same thing where she cuts through a lot of the bullshit in high school. She's just very and she's always been that way, but it's again with the certainty that comes with yourself with something like that. She's just very straightforward, always sort of has answers for things, accidentally becomes the therapist for her group of friends, kind of, which she sometimes likes and sometimes doesn't like. So, but yeah, that's about it.
That educational piece is really important too. I mean, certainly has taught me, or caused me, to go out and search out information that I probably wouldn't have otherwise, that gave me a better understanding of a population that I thought I kind of knew things about, but I really didn't. And career-wise, it's even helped me in the sense that I train foster parents who work with and support youth from the gay community. And so, a lot of the information that Stephanie is able to share with me, personal experiences that I'm able to share with them. So there has been an advantage that way as well.
How did you react the first time your loved one brought a partner to introduce to yourself or to your parents? How was that experience?
For me, it was the first time that one of my parents had somebody else. It wasn't that my dad was with a guy. It was just that my mom hadn't been with another guy since the divorce, and it was really, really new. I remember my sisters kind of met him and said I don't want to talk to you. And it wasn't because he was gay. I mean, Francesco's a great guy. It was just the fact that we were in shock that our parents could potentially end up with somebody else besides each other. I think that's what it was. I know I wasn't as nice to Francesco as I should have been, so I'm apologizing, Francesco. I'm sorry. I should have been more accepting to you. But it's hard, I think, when you see your parents move on with somebody else. It was also confusing because it's like, oh, you're not with a girl anymore, you're with a guy, okay. It also helped a lot that Francesca was very cool and very open and wanted us to feel comfortable. My dad was actually too scared to introduce him as like a lover or a partner. We were going for sushi in New York. I went to go visit him, and his friend dropped by the restaurant to come and eat with us, and I soon figured everything out. But it was hard, I guess. Really, really hard to finally see them moving on, but then happy to see them with somebody.
I have to say that I'm a pretty terrible person for meeting any of my sister's significant others. I don't usually embrace any of them. When my sister, before she came out, she had a boyfriend. I was the reason they broke up. Well, he threatened to kill me, so she broke it off. My other sister, who's straight, who has had many boyfriends, I think I've accepted one of them. So really, there's no gender bias for me. The girl that she's marrying, I immediately fell in love with. Like, I had absolutely no problem with her. She helps me make fun of my sister too, which is great. So yeah, no real gender bias between either of my sisters. If it's a guy or a girl who I meet.
For me, my sister's 17, so as of this point in her life, she hasn't had like a significant monogamous partner that has happened yet. But I've sort of, and some of the people that she's been involved with or been seeing sort of casually, like I'll meet them, or like when they come over, just when they would come over to the house during the holidays or something, or she talked to me about them. But just with my situation, that just hasn't happened directly yet because she's doing her own thing. She's in high school and stuff.
Same experience as Jess. My family has like this poor practice of embarrassing the hell out of someone who like comes over for the first time. So the first time I ever met someone my brother was just casually seeing, he's 17, you know. I just did like the worst thing I ever could have done and embarrassed him as much as I could. And then afterwards I realized, holy crap, it's different, your brother's gay, this kid probably thinks that you're like not accepting of him. And I felt so bad about it, like just the worst, but you know, it's a family tradition, what can I do?
Still waiting, impatiently. I'm at it. So I can't speak to Steph, but my niece, the first time that she brought a partner to family functions, she was living in Toronto. I live in a small town, grew up in a small town, north of London, here about an hour north, straight up the highway, so farm country. So my niece had been living in Toronto, brings home her partner who's got piercings and tattoos and almost shaved head. And it was more about her appearance, I think, than the fact that she had a partner. That kind of threw everybody off that was in the room. And again, I think it was more about the fact that the community just wasn't, that just didn't exist in that community. But everybody welcomed her. You know, she was certainly welcomed into family activities and family gatherings and family functions. So I don't think that there's been a specific rejection. There was some caution, I think, around the usual razzing that would have happened because of an awareness of that we didn't want the person to feel like they were being rejected because of their sexuality.
Steph, I think your mom's hinting at something, so maybe you should bring someone home first before you think about that. As far as any sort of bullying experiences that your loved one has perhaps encountered, have they ever come to you with they've had discrimination against them, and how did you handle that or react to it?
My dad had an unfortunate incident. He came out to his dad, my grandfather. He hadn't come out to him yet, but he was close with his wife. Not my grandmother, but he was remarried before I was born. He came out to her before anybody else and really, really trusted her. And one night, she got very, very drunk and told my dad that if he didn't come out to the rest of the family and to my grandfather, that she was gonna out him in front of everybody. And my dad wasn't ready, and I don't think that was a fair thing to do to him. So the person he is, he went back inside, packed up all of his stuff and left. He wasn't gonna stay under somebody's roof where they were gonna dictate how he was gonna live his life or who he was gonna tell until he was ready. That gave him the push to tell me, and then shortly after my sisters. But I think that was the first time that it really affected him. Like someone was going to use his sexuality to kind of say, like, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it, or push him into something that he didn't want to do. And the type of person he is, he's not going to do something like that. And all my dad's friends were accepting, all of his people that he worked with, all his co-workers never really said anything. I think everyone just kind of just still loves the same Stephen, really.
My bad. Same with sort of something I referenced earlier already, but yeah, my sister, which the nice thing about my sister and I's relationship just being so good now is she came to me as soon as the first issue that she's like ever encountered happened with her friend. And she was really, it was actually really hard because she was really hurt because she just assumed that because it was her friend and he was gay, and they, you know, she had supported him in all of these things that had happened with him or happened to him or things that he talked to her about, and she felt really close to him, and so she didn't understand like where the things that he'd said to her had come from or why he would do that or how he couldn't see that she would need the same amount of love and support from him. And I think that was just really painful for me to see and for me to sort of just be like, I don't know, it's dumb, I'm sorry, but I basically like just had to try and talk through it with her and just explain that, just basically explain things about how like with how we are with categories, especially in our society. I think it can be scary to sort of be someone who identifies with sort of in the middle or sort of like on someone who's pan, sort of identifying with just meeting a person and then liking the person, and that just not being something that was dictated by like them checking enough boxes in a certain category. And so explaining that to her and explaining to her also that it was important to take a step back if she needed to, but that educating him about that was the sort of the only thing she could do. And I think since then they've been able to reconcile, and she was able to talk to him about it. But I think that was interesting because it came from someone she didn't expect it to. Like she expected the first experience to be someone who was not a part of this community of support that she had established for herself. So yeah.
My brother came out in grade 11 to everyone in his high school, which was a year after he came out to our family, and immediately he was sort of like a minor celebrity. So there's this like kind of herd immunity that protected him from any like serious incidents because he was cool and it was uncool to like make fun of him and stuff. But something that really hit home for me was talking about it one day. He said, you know, you really don't know how it feels to have the words like gay and other slurs tossed around daily, and being associated with just being bad or negative feelings and stuff, and people don't even understand how much hurt that causes, and like how you internalize that. Like you might even start to believe it sometimes, you know, that gay is bad, and that had a real like effect on me. I wasn't so much angry as I was like hurt for him, and really like in elementary school I remember using that word myself. Just I didn't even know what it meant, you know, and like that doesn't excuse it, but I just felt some serious regret, and I really I don't know, I just wish people would stop using that word like that. I know it's cliche now and everyone here probably understands, but that was a huge revelation for me. It wasn't anything specific, it was just, I realized how much hurt that it could cause.
For that, like the fact that sometimes people think being gay is wrong, that's the whole reason my dad didn't come out when he figured it out himself. When we've talked about it, he's like, yeah, I knew when I was 13 I liked boys, and I hid it. He hid it until he was in his 40s, which is a huge thing to live with. When I asked him why he didn't, he said that when he was growing up it wasn't acceptable. It wasn't okay to be gay. He would have gotten made fun of, he would have gotten beaten up everywhere he went, and he was terrified. And that's why he hid it, and that's why he married my mom, and that's why he had a family, and he thought that it could be just something that he could bury, and he finally realized that in today's society it's okay. And people aren't going to treat you differently, and there are so many people that you can surround yourself with that are going to be there for you and accept you and love you for who you are. And I think that it's great that everybody here, like their daughter or their brothers and sisters, are allowed to come out today and feel safe doing it, because I know my dad didn't feel safe at all. He waited till he was a middle-aged man to finally be himself. And I think that's something that's really awesome about today and about the society we live in.
Can you repeat the question?
I think about being bullied.
Bullying discrimination.
I guess, from my standpoint, Steph I think, has turned more to her friends and her circle of friends, likely, for those issues. However, there have been one or two incidents, mostly with her father, where she has been out with him and he's made homophobic comments that have upset her, and she's come home and made comment on them. Probably have not handled those the best myself, and have just kind of discussed the fact that we may not be able to change her father. We may be able to have to just accept the fact that at times he's an ass, and that he is her father, that he loves her, and that we might just have to try to get past it, because we're probably not going to change some of his behaviors. He does accept her and love her, whether so it may not have been the best response in the world, but I haven't, as I said, Stephanie usually I think turns to her friends for support more so.
My sister is a very strong type personality. Like, she's a very girl you meet and she'll instantly be your best friend type of girl, but she's also the type of person I've never seen her cry, so she's never talked to me about it. I know coming out to my parents wasn't the easiest thing for her, but again, also in our household, we don't have the problem of using the words gay or homophobic slurs because my parents just wouldn't have it in the house, not because they think it's a bad word that you should be accepting, just because they don't want to hear it at all. It's very buried. It's buried. My sister's gay, but we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it at all, ever, in the house. So.
Ken, do you have a question from the audience?
Were there any signs before they came out?
For me,
Oh, sorry, and what were those signs?
Looking back, I see them. Beforehand, I didn't. Just like you were saying, you don't see it with your own family. My sister had a girlfriend in high school, a girlfriend who I didn't like, so often I would body block her from hugging my mom, because she kept trying to get in tight with my mom, and I said no. But now that I realize, I look back, I was like, oh, she was your girlfriend. She was your prom date. Okay. And yeah, that's my story.
Looking back, there were a lot of signs that we just kind of didn't acknowledge exactly. The fact that my dad wore way tighter pants than any of the other dads. The fact that he would only wear 7 For All Mankind jeans. That usually wasn't something that all the dads did. He never watched sports, ever. Not saying that people who are gay don't watch sports, but he really does not like sports. when I was growing up, instead of watching The Simpsons with my dad, we watched Sex and the City. So that should have been the first sign. I grew up watching Sex and the City. I know all the episodes, everything, and I was young. We watched Ally McBeal, that was our thing. And typically dads would watch like the Leafs games or, you know, do stuff like that. No, it was Ally McBeal, it was Sex and the City, and it was Roswell, this weird show about these like really attractive aliens. So there are definitely some signs I should have seen. The fact that my dad never had like, I guess like magazines that had girls in them, he was like a religious GQ reader, like religiously. And we thought it was just because he was a guy, but I think he just really loved seeing attractive men in all those magazines. He actually admits it now, that he loves the covers. They're his favorite thing. And music taste, definitely. He hates rock and roll and like country and all that stuff. He loves like Adele. Adele's his favorite, absolute favorite. Loves her so much. And I think we didn't look because we didn't really think it was just our dad. That's how we grew up with him. He was just a little metro. He was more metro, and now he's definitely more flamboyant now that he's just being himself. But yeah, there were some signs that we should have seen.
I guess, I think no is the simple answer, but mostly, I guess, if this counts as a sign, from a very early age, my sister always identified with the process of being an ally to like the LGBT community, to the queer community. That was always something that before she came to any realizations about herself, she felt very strongly. And I don't know if that's necessarily a sign as much as just like my sister as such she's a really empathetic person, and just could quite clearly see sort of the strange hypocrisy and things that happened and the discriminations that people in queer communities experience. So, but I don't know if there's necessarily any signs. I think it's tricky. I think with each person's like an individual. So it's, yeah, that's it.
A sudden interest in fashion and French cinema. Also, all his friends were girls, so I should have picked up, but you know, I just didn't think about that really.
As I said, I raised two daughters. The first one loved everything pink. Boy crazy at a very young age. All about the frills, the lace, the stereotypical girl. Stephanie was not the stereotypical girl. But again, I didn't like necessarily the makeup, the pink, the frilly stuff. So when Stephanie first started kind of exhibiting trends in her clothing and her ideals, I was like, maybe. You know, the fact that I had to fight with her in grade 8 to get her to wear a dress for graduation, because I thought, you know, luckily, prom and all those things later on after she'd come out, fine with the fedora and the suit and the tie, and her father's wedding with the suit and the tie and things like that. But when she was younger, like grade 8, an androgen, you know, if she had not worn that dress, even Jeff would have turned an eye and looked, I think, and thought that was a little odd. They went to the same public school, just FYI. So it was a little bit, early on, her choices in clothing, her demeanor, as she got into high school, very quickly surrounded herself with a circle of friends who were clearly sharing similar sexual orientation and gender issues. So I was like, okay, is she gonna come out? Is she gonna come out? Well, I'll let her, you know, maybe it's just her, but maybe it's just her personality. But yeah, there were a lot of signs. And then, of course, all of a sudden, the rainbow everywhere, everything started coming out as she got to that identity stage. And her friends were going off to this camp, and she would talk about the camp. So there were signs early on, from probably the time she was about 9.
Sorry, I forgot to add one thing. Every Easter, my family would exchange gifts because, you know, like, I'm not Catholic, but they're Catholic, and they're pretty heavy Catholic, so it's a big deal. And me and my brothers would always get, you know, when we were little, like, cars and stuff like that. Jimmy never wanted that. He always got, like, Barbie heels or, like, you know, something. So like that should have been the obvious sign, but you know, even then, just whatever. Didn't even think about it.
So we have 2 more questions from up here. So just as we go into them, I want the audience just like keep sending in tweets or approach Ken and let him know as we go into like our last 2 questions. So hopefully these ones will have some good answers. Have you ever been to a pride parade or a gay bar with your loved one?
I got the experience of going to the New York Pride Parade with my dad. Went with another one of my sisters, my dad, and his partner Francesco. We all went to American Apparel and got the legalized gay shirts. My dad wore like a tank top one, and he looked really cute. Him and his partner were matching, and my sister and I had our own, and it was awesome. It was so cool, and it was amazing to see like the fire department walking in the parade, and it was amazing to see all the policemen, and Stonewall was so cool. And everybody was dressed in drag, and everyone was just so happy and celebrating, and it was like a whole day of just exciting stuff. And there were definitely some guys that were way prettier than I was when they put on all their makeup and did their hair with their outfits, and it was really, really cool. But there's also a gay bar here called Lavish, and I kind of really want to go. One of my friends has been hinting at it for a while, saying like, I kind of want to go. One of my friends here is actually bi, and we support her fully. But she really wants to go, and she won't go by herself, so we all told her that we'd go with her. So I guess I'll have stories if I end up going.
Yeah, so my sister and I are Oakville, where she goes to high school, is about 2 hours away, so I have not had the hilarious experience, because I know it would be, of going to a pride parade or a bar with her. But I went to Lavish after the Take Back the Night March, because that's where the official after party was happening, and it's a great space and it's really awesome. And unfortunately, because of the summer job I have not been able to make it to a pride parade yet, because they're always right in the middle of, I work at an overnight camp, so I have to stay there. And can't go to the parades, so I just jealously look through all of the pictures like the day after, and just all my friends like tweeting or Facebooking about how amazing it was, and I was like, oh, so someday it will happen. But and I definitely hope when I finally get to go, I'll be able to go with my sister.
I have not been to a pride parade, neither has my sister though, and I've actually only been out to the bar with one of my sisters, Lori, once, which was a crazy experience I'd like to forget. And her boyfriend wasn't there at the moment, which would have been even more interesting. I do vaguely remember Trisha inviting me to a strip club, which I also have not been to. But I will one day. But yeah, neither.
My brother's 17, like I said, so no bars or anything like that for him yet. I think I've been to a gay bar in London. I'm not positive about it. No, I remember it. It's not like that. So I saw here, and there's this place called Buck Wild. I'm not totally positive whether or not it's a gay bar, but I think it is. I've heard rumors that it is? Okay, do you know, is the phone number that was circulating true?
Yeah.
It is? Okay, the phone number spells 519 get cock. I didn't know if that was true or not, but apparently it is. And the experience I had was, it was kind of interesting, because usually when you go to a bar, and if you're a guy, I mean, you're kind of just treated like a wallet, right? Like you're gonna buy a drink and then you're gonna piece. That's been my experience anyways, maybe I'm just not good looking enough. But there I was treated really nicely. They asked me if I wanted water. They were very polite, so it was a really positive experience, and I would definitely go again.
I have, through my work, been working at Pride events in Windsor, the flag raising. We've had a booth recruiting foster parents and adoptive parents at the Pride events in Windsor for many, many years. I don't go to the parade because it's really not worthwhile. The parade is pretty small and pathetic in Windsor, unfortunately. It's getting better, but it's got a long way to go. I have been to their dances, their drag shows, gay bars, not necessarily with Stephanie though, but with my friends. But Stephanie's gone to Pride events with me, just not the dancing and the bar scene afterwards. She would prefer if we separate at that point so that I don't embarrass her, because apparently public dancing and me are not supposed to occur. I've also been chastised a couple times because I wore the wrong clothing to work at the Pride booth, because apparently I was giving off some sort of sign that I was a lesbian, wearing some sort of white t-shirt, that was code that I wasn't aware of, and that I missed it. And so it's been a learning, thing for me. I have, as I said, gone with my best friend, and we've danced and pretended that I was gay just to, kind of fit in. We've gone to dances and pretended I was gay to get rid of guys that we didn't want hitting on us. Gay bars are fun. Drag shows are highly recommended for everyone. Have a great time.
So I'm guessing that's a phone number that no one in this audience is going to forget anytime soon. Last question from me up here before hopefully more tweets have come in. I already got reprimanded for checking my phone, so I'm not quite sure. But are there any memorable, awkward moments that you've had with your loved one since or before you knew, since before or after they came out?
Porn. That was really, really awkward for me, because I don't watch porn, and then she starts giving me details about porn and porn sites that I can go to if I would like to indulge.
There was the awkward moment when my dad's partner tried to convince me that anal sex is the best sex. And that I should try it, and I should do lots of fun things. That conversation completely made me turn around, as I'm sure I'm doing right now. It was awkward. I just didn't need to, I know that they do those things, I just didn't need to know in full detail what happened. Definitely when my sister decided to have a smart mouth and ask who was the pitcher and who was the catcher, that's a moment I would like to forget forever. Forever. That was just terrible, and I can't erase that. No one wants to know that about their dad. No. And then there was the time when I went to visit him. I brought one of my best friends, and we were staying on the pull-out couch, and we definitely... No one wants to hear their parents have sex. No one wants to hear their dad and their new husband have sex through a tiny wall in an apartment in New York. No one wants to hear that. We couldn't go to bed. We actually were watching a movie and trying to forget everything that was happening. And in the morning when they came out, it was an awkward breakfast. It was just too much. No.
I forgot one. The talk about strap-ons. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I don't know if I can follow that, but my brother has a very small dating pool in the town we're from, so he's turned down proposals from some guys who are my age, and oftentimes I had absolutely no clue that these guys were gay, so it's been interesting.
I'm a mother, so all talks about sex are embarrassing and awkward. And my children don't, and because part of my job, I talk about sex and blowjobs and condoms and dental dams, and I will have any conversation you would like to have, and my children go, no. They don't want to hear it. Awkward moments. As I said, when Stephanie started high school, she had a very small circle of friends. She was in that identifying phase, and everything was rainbow, and all of her friends were, in the community kind of thing. At one point, my older daughter reminds me that we had a conversation at a dinner table where apparently I said something, okay, I get it already, you're gay, because everything was about being gay. Sleepovers, rite of passage for girls. I remember coming downstairs and finding two girls who really shouldn't have been in a position that they were in, because Stephanie was having a sleepover with some friends, and they decided to cuddle up together, and I realized that they were actually partners. So probably I should have, embarrassing moment for me was like, do I address this, or do I just let it go? Well, they're not getting pregnant, so I'm going to let it go.
I don't know if I have any awkward or embarrassing stories. I'm really trying to think, but I think mostly I hear about my sister's awkward or embarrassing stories like that have happened. She'll tell me, and I'll laugh with her or at her, depending on the situation. But yeah, I don't think there's been any awkward moments between us.
Okay, so one last question. What advice do you have for for family members who suspect one of their family members may be a member of the gender and sexually diverse community?
Well, the first thing I say is that they need to come out at their own time. My sister knew when she was in high school, maybe before that, I don't even know. But don't force it. Like, this is something that they have to figure out for themselves when they want to tell you. It's their life. It's not your job to intrude on it and force them into that. And also just remember that, they're your family. They're the person you always know. Their sexuality doesn't change that. My sister's still my sister, and she's always going to be the person who is always there for me. She's the same girl who spends thousands of dollars on us at Christmas for no reason at all. She's the same person that I can call up crying, and she'll just comfort me, And, even if you suspect that they're gay or bi or whatever, that doesn't change who they are.
Yeah, do not force them to come out when they are not ready. I know that my dad's sister has been struggling for a very, very, very long time. Still hasn't told her parents, but a bunch of us know. Don't push it, because if you want somebody to trust you with something that big, take it very seriously. My dad told me before he told my sister, it was actually a couple months before, and he was very adamant on me not telling them, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't think that it was fair that I had to hold this giant secret. But then I realized that he had been holding this for so much longer, that I could give him the time that he needed before he came out to my sisters. They were younger than I was. I was 13, and that's still pretty young to find out that your dad's gay. I mean, my other sisters were 11 and 9, and I don't even think that my sister Lexi at that time could have comprehended that. So give them all the time that they need, and also don't question what they say when they say it. I know my dad now says, Maddie, I was never bisexual. Being bi is a layover to Gay Town for guys. So it was a funny conversation. People change their minds, but usually when they come out, it's a very serious matter. And to take it seriously and not to laugh. Don't laugh. That's one of the big things. I know when one of my friends in high school came out to me, one of our guy friends actually went into the bathroom and couldn't handle it. Don't freak out. Be as calm and as there for them as you possibly can, because it's really tough. It's super tough. People cry sometimes when they come out, and it's a huge, huge thing for somebody to trust you with their secret, especially if they're not okay with telling the entire world.
Yeah, I think for families and for in general, making a family space a safe space, it doesn't really in the end, it's just making a positive, amazing space for your family members as a whole. And so if, even if there's no one maybe in your direct family who identifies with the queer community at all, the things that you would do to make it a safe space for someone to come out if they wanted to, just makes your family life better. It just makes everything better. You're with what everyone here is kind of talked about, more open conversations, you're more honest with each other. You have this perspective of treating any people that you meet in your life with respect and love and dignity. That's a great thing to have as part of your family. And I would just echo with what Maddie and Carissa said. Definitely just don't I think a lot of people like to try and play guessing games, and there's jokes about things like gaydar and stuff like that. Don't push it. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if you have decided, oh, but there's all these signs. If it is, then they will tell you when they're ready, and if it isn't, then they won't. They'll tell you otherwise, I guess. So creating a safe space for your family members is key for everything, but especially for if you have any queer family members.
Cut yourself and them some slack. They may be, and be patient. I think you can't rush it. They'll come out when and if they feel that they're safe and ready. And they may still be trying to figure things out. And it's okay if you're still trying to figure things out. As long as you love each other, you'll kind of figure it out at some point. I don't know what it's like to be gay. I don't know what it's like to be black. I don't know what it's like to be anything other than what I am. And so it's always going to be a learning curve for me. And I'm assuming it's always going to be a learning curve for the people in my life that I love who, are still figuring things out for themselves too. So we'll learn together, be patient.
I don't have any major advice other than what everyone else said. I think they covered all the bases, but I'd really like to emphasize the safe space. I think that's super important, just to make someone you love know that coming home is going to be coming somewhere where they want to be and they're accepted, and where they can kind of take shelter from what might be a harsh outside world for them, I think, not treating them differently, obviously. If my brother brought home a hot guy, I'd high-five him, just like if my other brother brought home a hot girl, whatever, right? Just keep it cool.
Thank you. So I guess that wraps up our panel today. Thank you to Ken for being amazing in the audience, and PrideWestern for putting this on, and our amazing panelists, especially Barb, who is Steph's mother, in case those of you who haven't picked up on that, for traveling here to share some nice stories about Steph, and to everyone, thank you for being so open.